just a moment to sit in. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. Return to the breath. If you catch yourself wandering away, it's entirely normal. And while we're sitting here, I want to impart just a little bit of insight. Often this could be a Dharma talk after the meditation, but my goal here is to guide through some meditations by addressing the thoughts you already have, instead of teaching you new things. I would like this series to be able to unwind certain beliefs that you may have that are keeping you from attending to the breath. And how I would start that today is to celebrate my t-shirt, one of my favorite TV shows when I was about 15. And it just brought to mind how we bring in favors or favorites rather, and other things that bring us comfort when we're creating a space for meditation. Now, in the last 40 years, I've meditated on the sidewalk of a busy street that was just showing off. I meditated in a hospital by sitting upright, even though it was advised not to do so, and having a quick 20-minute sit between the nurses' visits. When I was hospitalized for sepsis, I did this every day because I was able just to steal a few moments of peace of mind by doing so. And otherwise, the specter of the percentages of survival in sepsis were against me. And this was a way for me to kind of gently restore my iti as it was all going on. But it makes me think of the requirements so many thoughtful, generous, well-meaning people have for advising you, set your meditation space in the corner of a room. If you are at all vulnerable to compulsive shopping, when you first decided you would meditate, instead of meditating in your underwear on a upright position in the kitchen table, you cleared out a spot in your living room. Or if that's impossible, your bedroom, and you've gone online and you've ordered a first-class zafu and zabuton, and you've ordered the candles, and you've ordered a nice Tibetan bowl. Oh, I don't have mine with me today. Tibetan bowl. There are several, and the chances of you actually finding the one that the monk had whispered the secrets of immortality into, good on you. But what we wind up doing is making it for ourselves an ego hindrance of a very precious place where meditation can go on. And then when you listen to folks discuss this, when they do discuss it, they'll say, well, I need to be in my living room to do this. It needs to be 6 o'clock. I need to see the sun going down. I need my cats to be around. I need the sound of rain on the roof. I need, and etc., and etc. Now, part of it is just taking up a new quasi-mystical East Asian kind of exotic hobby has undeniably a pull for us. I know I spent my first years in meditation wanting to be secret Asian man because I misheard the lyrics of the actual song Secret Agent Man. So I wanted to be secret Asian man. I studied Chinese. I swore to go to Shaolin. I studied and reread the platform scripture. And at the end of the day, my meditation space was indeed very special. It was some very expensive mats that I had purchased. I wasn't sitting on a table the way I am now, but that's only for teaching. But at the time, I even had, I ordered a Shaolin gi, the martial arts uniform of Shaolin monks, which is nice and saffron and everything, because I really wanted to plug into that habit. And like many of my fellow Americans, buying things is how you do that. And yes, Ben Franklin did say, beware of any new enterprises or any enterprises that require you to buy new clothes. And I understand him much better now than I did as a younger man. But the fascinating thing about this is that we do tend to dress up ourselves when we're meditating, which only gives us another excuse not to sit. Well, it's not perfect, or my kids are in the room, or damn it, every time I sit, my cat decides to come and sit in my lap, or my dog comes and bumps me in the back. Here's a little secret. Cats especially know when you're meditating, and they will plug in. Now, you can have some aggressive cats that kind of bump up against your hand and says, pet me, damn it. I've had those cats. But by and large, they come and they sit in your legs. They purr from time to time, but not generally. And the mystical part of me wants to say, I've connected with this spirit animal guide. Or maybe it's just you're exuding a level of calmness and self-composition that makes animals understand you're doing the work. I have a family member who's Irish and sarcastic and has done quite a bit of harm to his relationship with his kids, because when he wants to flirt and demonstrate that he loves his kids, he teases them. And if you respond in the Irish way of 50 years ago by giving him shit right back, he's happy. But it took him 2 decades to understand he was driving away the more sensitive of his children. And he couldn't fathom that, because that had nothing to do with his intentions. But it's now something he sits with alone a lot of the time. And as much as I love him, as much as other family members love him, he's lonely because he drove people away. You want to defend yourself against that. You don't want to sit back and say, hey, everybody, I'm starting meditation, so let me set the Zafu and Zabuton up in the middle of the living room while you're watching TV and insist you turn it off so I can connect with the spiritual strength of Buddhism. I'm sorry, but that is an ego hindrance. That's saying, look at me, I'm more spiritually developed than you are. And Sangya Rinpoche at the mountain resort north of Boulder, Colorado, talks about spiritual materialism. Spiritual materialism is the knowledge that my materialism is more, or my spirituality is more pure than yours is. Some do it in the classic Buddhist style of coming up with an impressive lineage. The men who have taught me, one was a direct student of Alan Watts, and one was a direct student of Jack Kornfield's. I have connections with others, including my first Buddhist mentor, who I don't name. And that's enough for me now. But at the time, if I go someplace and want to sit in meditation with other people, I'd feel strangely compelled to tell this story so I can talk them into the fact that, hey, I've been here a while, I'm not a beginner American Buddhist, and you can trust me with your ancient Chinese secrets. I mean, if we're going to get really ridiculous, that's kind of where it comes from. And that impresses no one. But do you know what does impress? Your ability to sit still for 20 minutes and meditate. And if you learn your posture correctly, and you work through the first few weeks of discomfort in any posture, you'll discover that you've got the best posture possible to sit for 4 hours straight. And the first time you sit for 4 hours straight, you will be quite surprised at what it's like to come out of that and how you look at the world. I don't mean to be a tease about this, but jhana states are possible with sustained meditation of even as little as 40 minutes. Maybe I'll put in a link to what jhana states are. But mostly for people, they're promised states of mind. If you continue to do this, you will sit with a state of mind of such. And there's far too many people, far too many of us having different approaches to make that even remotely true. Is it true for you? That's a question worth pursuing. But take a look at what you require to sit in meditation. Do you need to have your Zafu and Zabuton kind of pointed vaguely to China? And I know some people who do this. They want to be definitely on the southern meridian, which is ridiculous because China's on the northern. But to say, I sit westbound at a 45-degree angle. All right, well, I think that could direct you to Mecca sooner than anything else. And if this is one of the traits of the Islamic holy religion, then okay, you're imitating that, but it's an ego hindrance still because you have no idea what it's like to be a Muslim, what it's like to study Islam. I don't either. It's never been my cup of tea. But that doesn't mean I don't respect many of the peaceful people who advocate it. But how peaceful does your resting place have to be for you to meditate? Do you need the brand new cushions? Do you need the fancy artificial candle that will turn off after 20 minutes? Do you need a shawl? Do you need a particular shirt? Do you need to have, I don't know, bell-tending music going on in the background? And the answer, of course, to all of this is no. You don't need any of that stuff. What you need is a place to sit with your hips above your knees and maintain your breath. Through that noble experiment, so many things are possible. This isn't a course where I'm going to teach you all the great things that you're looking for in the future, because I don't know if you'll have access to them. One of the challenges of prajna, of seeing things as they are, is that there'll be a time invariably where you no longer see that situation the way you see it now. And that could be 20 years later, it could be 20 minutes later. But it's an ego hindrance because who wants to admit being that wrong? So we stay quiet and we tend to the breath. And what I can promise you is that if you continue this practice, if you sit with the breath on a regular basis, I would even suggest daily for the first 45 days. After a while, you'll start paying attention to the accoutrement of meditation. It's the Diderot effect, I believe, where now that I've got this great Zafu, I need a better Zabuton. Now that I've got a better Zabuton, I need a better Buddhist bowl. Now that I've got a nice Tibetan bowl, I would like an even bigger one. And I would like the dog and the cat and the kids and the wife to let me have this as a moment of peace. The good news is you're probably loved well enough if you are lucky enough to have a family like that. You're lucky enough to be loved so much that they will come and get you while you're meditating. And yes, maybe they should have figured this question out themselves. Maybe you need to help them, coach them up in problem solving. But never forget, this is someone who loves you, who's come for wisdom. And if you're like me, you kind of can't help but chuckle when you talk about wisdom coming from you. It's rarely one of the qualities I'm accused of having. But if you sit with the breath, no matter how unsavory your meditation corner is, maybe it's in a bathtub, maybe it's in a closet because you really do need to block yourself off from people and you're convinced of that. That doesn't mean that this is what you're destined to do. If you continue to come and sit, even if the conditions aren't ideal, then you will find different layers of yourself unexpectedly. It's impossible to measure unfelt rage, but most of the rages that are popular among us, road rage, work rage, postal rage, all of those things can be diminished considerably if you learn how to sit for 20 minutes. That's my promise to you. Thank you for being here for this talkative lesson, and I hope you've returned to the breath and absorb. Thank you. Keep attending to the breath. If I've talked too much, forgive yourself for listening. I've already forgiven myself for doing so.